Hey everybody, this is David Morris. I am the publisher of Lake Drive Books, and I'm here with Marla Taviano to talk about her new book, Whole: Poems on Reclaiming the Pieces of Ourselves and Creating Something New. Marla and I are really excited to be bringing this book out. Are you excited, Marla?
I'm so excited. Just super excited. Yeah. This is, I can't believe it's happening I can't believe that, well,
I'm
I
going to step away. Keep going.
started with a book. Oh, yeah, you're going to show me.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I want everybody to see.
Speaking of unbelieve, can't believe. You hope that when you write a trilogy, I did not know this is going to be a trilogy at the beginning. It worked out so perfectly that it really does feel like the people who planned like a Star Wars trilogy a long time ago, and then it worked out great, where you've got the beginning where everything's like a little bit hopeful, a little bit shaky, what's going to happen. The middle is just like, ah, and then the end, you're hoping and praying that it can have a happy ending. And this is not a like tied up at the nice little bow and everything's great and happy, but there is so much joy and so much happiness. And I'm already hearing back from people who finished reading the whole thing, and that's what they're saying. Like, I I am so happy for you that you feel, it feels like you love yourself, are becoming more healed and whole, and that they want that too. And that's what I want. I want that for me. I want that for
Yeah.
everyone. And that's what the book is all about. Wholeness for me, wholeness for you, wholeness for
Yeah.
anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
Um, Even my
Yeah.
enemmies, to be honest with you.
Amen. And this one, like all your books, has a pretty thorough notes section, which is really exciting. I think it's actually really helpful.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not just because you're sort of citing things, but you're also providing further notes and further things to check out. Um, you've got an appendix with some really great books on the books that you quoted in this one, some other your recent favorites. Um, and this book takes on a lot of other different topics that you haven't necessarily taken on in the other two books. This one has Writing Wholehearted, New Thoughts on God, Reclaiming and Reimagining, Inner Geography, um, and so much more. So talk about, let me ask you a question. One of the things I've been thinking about, because I'm in this space too, quite a bit, honestly, all the time. That's what Lake Drive Books does. Um, and so many people have this natural reaction. People aren't necessarily inside the deconstruction movement, let's just put it that way, have this natural reaction like, well, where's the reconstruction?
Mhm.
And that has, that's a kind of a problematic word. But one of the recent conclusions I've come to is like there really there really isn't exactly a reconstruction. It's more that we are finding out who we are that we never realized. Like we're already here, we're already constructed, and we're not trying to reconstruct some new tightly knit system of belief that we then argue about with other people, because that's just a different way of, that's a that's a certain kind of thing. It's a certain epistemology, it's a certain way to approach spirituality, but spirituality is not just about belief. But it's also, I think, very much, sorry for the long speech, and I'll flip it over to you. It's right in your subtitle, reclaiming the pieces of ourselves, but also creating something new. So to me, there's not a reconstruction, it's rediscovery of who we are, which you can't do in a tightly controlled religious system like evangelical style religion. Does that ring true for you?
Oh, absolutely. And if I knew you were going to ask this question, I would have found the poem in one of my other books that says essentially, people keep saying to me, you can't just keep deconstructing, you have to reconstruct. And I say to them, um, I deconstructed my belief system and I'm putting myself back together. So it is a reconstruction for me, but I'm not putting a belief system back together. I am putting myself back together. And that's what whole is all about, these pieces of myself. I have things from my past that still hold true, that I still want, or that I'm renaming or reclaiming or redeeming. And I actually heard a word the other day, redreaming. Like I'm redreaming things, like redeeming things from my past and figuring out how they can be different moving forward. And I don't have any desire to reconstruct a belief system. I'm not going to do that. So when people ask me what I believe, I don't, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. It's literally about love to me. Like, how can I love myself and how can I love other people? And the Christian Bible talks about loving God, loving yourself, loving others. And I can put God in there too. I don't know who or what God is to me, but I can also love this bigger thing, whatever it is. So that's what Christianity was supposed to be about anyway, was love. And it so often is not. And or people say, like people told me, sometimes love feels like hate, and they think that the most loving thing to do is tell people why they're going to hell so that you can save them from it. Well, when you don't believe in hell anymore, then you no longer are worried about that. It's such a freeing thing to be able to be friends with any single person and not worrying about,
Mhm.
oh, is their sexuality like going to get in the way because they are following some path, or there's something about them that my religion tells me I can't be a friend to them. The only thing that would keep me from being friends with someone else is if their beliefs were harming other people. And that's just kind of the bottom line for me. I am friends with Christians, I am friends with pastors, I'm friends with atheists, I'm friends with all kinds of people. And it just comes down to, do you believe, like, do you have beliefs that harm people? And if you do, then that's not going to mesh with what I'm about. But if you don't, then we can still do this. If you believe this about Jesus and this and this and this, that's fine. And I don't actually know what I believe, and I'm not really super concerned about it.
And even when you just listed all those friends, those people that you talk to with different worldviews, so to speak, um, what you just did is something that we don't do in evangelicalism. Make friends with lots of different people.
Yeah. Or if we do, we have an agenda, which I also
Right.
write about. The agenda
Exactly.
that I always had
Right.
was, yes, I'll be your friend, but my end goal is that by the end of this, you will be a Christian too. You
Yeah.
will have accepted Jesus into your heart, and you will be
Right.
believing the same things that I believe, on the same path I'm on, so that you can go to heaven when you die. And
Yeah.
most of that came from love. I've always had a loving heart. And anytime I talked about hell, I do believe I really did love people, and I wanted them to repent or change or do whatever so that they could go to heaven.
Yeah.
Uh, I was just super misguided,
Yeah.
misinformed, indoctrinated about what it would take to
Yeah.
heaven. And I've been talking recently to some friends. So I have this launch team for Whole, and it's a Facebook group. There are 130 people. It is blown my mind, and every day I'm just like, my heart is overflowing with these.
It's community. I mean,
Oh,
it's actual community.
yeah. And someone posted in the group the other day, what do you miss about like church and Christianity? And everybody's saying all these things. For a lot of people, it was singing. It's not for me. I don't love to sing, so I don't miss all those songs at all. And I told people, I said, listen, I am going to be really honest. I don't miss church. I was bored a lot of the time in church, and I haven't been to church in almost 7 years. And I can count on one hand how many Sunday mornings I have woken up and thought, I wish I was going to church today. And it's zero. It's none, no times. And so for me, that, but now the community and things like that, yes, like build in friendships for my kids, that's something
Yeah.
that I miss.
Yeah.
But someone said that they miss like praying to God and having that like assurance that everything was going to be okay. And I said, I actually miss that too. But looking back, my life was not okay. It was never okay. There was so much hell in my life as a Christian, but yet I was taught, well,
Yeah.
God will still work all this out, or this will all,
Yeah.
or this, or this, or this, or this. So I'm actually happier now. There are more things going right in my life now than there were when I was a Christian. And I have another poem about that. Someone just made artwork from this poem where I talk about how I'm getting the same amount of answered prayer these days, and I haven't prayed a lick. So what should I do? And
Hmm.
the conclusion is find a new definition of God, like figure out something new. Because another pet peeve of mine is when people give all the praise and glory to God for things that go well and never any blame for things that go wrong. Because I
Hmm.
can see people reading that poem and thinking, well, you might not have been praying, Marla, but a lot of people are praying for you. So that's why things are going well. And I'm thinking, so were you praying for me when my husband cheated on me for 4 years, my Christian husband? Were you praying for me with this, praying for me this? Like, if you're not going to take the blame for that, then you don't get the credit for the happy things that are happening
Yeah.
in my life right now. I'm just so done with that. Done with God getting praise and credit and glory and
Yeah.
not blame. Like that's if God, like another poem with thank you, God, for moving the hurricane out of the path of my home and into the path of
Yeah.
someone else's. It's like
Yeah.
the unspoken thing. So if God gets praise for saving that house
Yeah.
from the hurricane and that house got destroyed, God did that.
Yeah.
God moved that hurricane.
That's
He
all part of,
and he,
yeah.
I just can't, I
That's
cannot.
all part of, I think, the belief system that goes along with so much of how we define church and faith community is having this caretaker who is watching out over us. It seems like that's a really key thing, a personal relationship with God who's watching over you and taking care of you.
It is, but he doesn't take care of everyone. He
No.
only,
Yeah,
he,
and I think for your launch team too, I mean, and we were talking about this earlier, there's this sense of if I'm not in church, I'm gonna miss it. Like you said, you've missed it this much. And I know what you mean by that. It's like it's surprising to me how much I'm not feeling like I'm missing it. But I do miss being connected to people more. I do miss doing things together with people more. But I think that like when you just started talking about all the different friends of yours who have different worldviews, you're actually finding more community and a wider community. But I think these are muscles we haven't used. But talk a little bit about like you said that on your launch team there are people who are like they're afraid to make that step. They're afraid to take an to kind of disconnect from this community where they see a lot of toxicity and unhealthiness. What and they don't want to give themselves permission. They're not sure they're going to be okay. Um, Talk about that a little bit.
that is something that I never give advice for. I never tell someone, leave, you'll be fine. You might not be fine. It is not easy. Like I've gone through hell. I am happy now. Um, but it was hellish for a while to be disowned by people, to have them say terrible things about you or say that you were never saved or you must be leaving Christianity just so you can sin and have sex with whoever you want. Like all the things that people say. Same with divorce. Am I happier now than I was when I was married? Yes. Were the last 3 years a lot of hell going
Hmm.
through that and finding out that my ex had cheated so long and all this stuff? Absolutely. There's it's getting through it is really, really hard. So I do love to give people hope about what can be on the other side, but I will never tell people it's going to be easy. It
Right.
is not easy and it depends on a lot of things. And I think people often cannot leave or will not leave a toxic environment until it becomes so much more painful inside than it would be to leave, which is also painful.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
that
Maybe even a crisis event happens of some kind.
yeah, there's a poem. I wish I had it right in front of me. By I believe she's Somali, a Somali poet who talks about it's about the refugee experience where nobody leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. And so these refugees that are fleeing, and people don't want refugees coming in their country or whatever, they're not leaving Africa because they want to come to the United States of America and start all over
Right.
without their family, without their homes, without that. They are in the mouth of a shark, and they are in danger, and they cannot survive, and they are fleeing. And then they'll see what's on the other side. It's not going to be easy. Like, I have a lot of refugee friends. I have an immigrant son-in-law. These, like, we think we US citizens have things hard. They have all the same things we do, plus this massive, huge, hard thing. And so, going back to the people leaving these spaces, I do believe there can be freedom, but your sister might disown you. Your parents might have nothing to do with you. You might lose this. You might have thought that you were in a place where you had built-in friends and it was like a family and everyone loved you. And you stood up for gay people, and every single one of those people turned their back on you and said they wanted nothing to do with you. That is so painful. And so I can only offer myself and my life and the smile on my face. And I think for people who know my story and know all the things I've been through, and I talk about it a lot in the books, it means something that I'm happy, because while I have things like white privilege, American privilege, I've also been through a lot of hard stuff. This happiness I earned it, like, at the end of a lot of things. And my life isn't super perfect now either. It's just I've been able to shed a lot of the toxic stuff. And the community on the other side, it's amazing, because I lost a lot of people, a lot of things. And I can say that the people who are here now and love me for who I am now, it doesn't take away all that hurt, but it makes it a lot more bearable. And who doesn't want to be loved and appreciated and celebrated for who they actually are? And that's what I talk about in wholeness. That's a big thing, especially for like the queer community or even the Black community. So the queer community will celebrate you if you change your ways and be like us. Or the Black community, Black people in white evangelical churches will celebrate you if you fit into our white evangelical church and do things the way that we do it. Like, that's how you'll get celebrated. You don't get celebrated for who you actually are. You'll get celebrated when you become who we want you to be. And I'm done with that. I am done with that. Just like my friends, like that I was telling you, I have pastor friends, and I don't text them with ways that they can become more like me or give up their beliefs or stop going to church. Or I don't tell them, you would love Sunday morning if you didn't go to church. No, they did. That's them.
Right.
This is me. And we can coexist happily. And I didn't have that in evangelical Christianity. If I did something that was a little bit outside the lines or a little bit off, I was put right back in my place immediately.
And you had to segment or cut off that part of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I desperately wanted to be good and please God and do the right thing. And so even when I would have doubts in my mind, I would shove them away, because I thought, that's just my sinful nature. That's my flesh talking. I've got to listen to the Bible and the pastor. And
I've seen video of you online from before, and now I know you now, and it's like, yeah, this version is a much more complete human being.
yeah, I'm scared to know what videos you've seen of me from the past, but that.
Oh, the thing about the zoos.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, there is video out there in the world of me speaking to groups of women in 2007, 8, 9. Like, that would be hilarious to find. We won't go actively searching for that, but
yeah, there's just something life-giving about not being, I mean, our religious systems have just so boxed us in and domesticated us. And maybe that was useful at one point. You might be able to argue that for one reason or another, but it's not, it's most of the time, it's holding us down. It's holding us back. and the world is scarier, and it's even in a way, in certain ways, more difficult. But the sense of satisfaction in life in the here and now, a sense of meaning and fulfillment, is just extraordinary, I think.
It's only ever been useful for a certain kind of person that would be like a white heterosexual cisgender male
Yeah,
in the United States of America. That would
yeah,
be the kind of person that boxing everybody in and making all the
yeah.
conformity, that's all that that would be good for.
But you have said, the folks on your launch team, you have said, they've said, I'm finding hope. There's life here. Um, maybe that should be like our last question. Talk about that. Like how do you find hope when you're in this process of rediscovery? Let's say you're getting through the tough stuff, but now you're in this process of rediscovery. Um, Thoughts?
Well, like you said, just being able to be who I am and like all the parts of me. And it might have a little something to do with my age. I'm 48, or the fact that I'm no longer married, or that we just went through a pandemic, like all of
Mhm.
these things where it's kind of like, who the hell cares? Like, who cares if I project this certain image, or I want people to perceive me a certain way? I still have that. But it's more of, I want people to believe that I am kind and loving and accepting, and I am those things. So there's nothing I have to pretend about. I don't have to
Yeah.
pretend anything, and I can be weird and quirky. That's kind of another thing. You mentioned wholehearted at the beginning. We won't get into that, but giving people permission in this book to to be their weird selves. Like,
Mhm.
what do you love? What gets you excited? People are learning about neurodivergence now, and autism spectrums and ADHD, things that made some of us feel like we didn't fit in. And now realizing you don't have to just fit in a church. You don't have to fit in a box anywhere. You can be who you are. And for my launch team specifically, I wanted this to be a place where people didn't just come and read my book and talk about it. I wanted to celebrate them for who they are. What are you creating? What do you love? So people are just sharing all these different things, and they're connecting with other people that like these things. And so it's almost like, I wouldn't say a church, but it's like a place where you can go and find people who do love the things that you love. And like I said, I can be friends with people who are on all different parts of the spectrum. But you can see the books behind me. On Bookstagram, on Instagram, I have found community with people who love books
Yeah.
just as much as I do. So instead of going to church and bringing people together, and your only thing in common is this belief system that you have, which is fine. I can meet different people. They don't have to all love books or whatever, but there's something to be said for finding people who love what you love, who have experienced things, that it's just a lot of fun. I look to the queer community and I see so many people like having chosen family and coming together and celebrating each other. And so that's what kind of
Yeah.
what I've been doing in the launch team. Like,
Yeah.
people come in and shared their books. I went and bought their books. These people, like, it's just
Yeah.
art. They've made art. Somebody made an embroidered thing. They embroidered one of my poems, like literally embroidered the
Yeah.
whole entire poem. So
Why the
that's
hell not? Just have fun and do it, right?
exactly right. And I forget what your question was, but I just want whatever, how many days I have left, and I hope that there are a
Yeah.
ton. Like, I hope I live to be 100. I I want to just do what I want, but not in the selfish way
Yeah.
where I'm trampling over other people.
Yeah.
I want to do what I want, and I want you to be able to do what you want. And that's what, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and
Yeah.
mind, your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want for yourself?
Right.
That's what you want for your neighbor. For
Right.
me, in very specific terms, I want people to buy this book and read it. So what am I going to do for them? I'm going to buy their book and read it
Yeah.
and then share it with people.
I
So
want to ask one more question about the new Marla. And one of the things you talk about that you do a lot right now is connect people.
hmm.
I bet you weren't the same kind of connector beforehand that you are now.
Okay, I would have to look back and see, but I actually might have been. There might have been some
All right, I'm
underlying
wrong.
evangelical Christian stuff of
Yeah,
it, but
yeah,
I can go back at least to 2014 when our family had no money and my ex-husband had lost his job, all this stuff, and we moved into
you were
this low
always a
income
connector,
house.
right?
Yeah, and we lived with a lot of refugees from Somalia, Eritrea, Nepal, and I would bring friends from outside that community and connect them with my neighbors. And I have people 10 years later
Yeah,
thanking me
yeah,
for the very first time they had ever been connected with a refugee or someone from Somalia or someone that spoke another language.
but what's different now when you connect people?
Well, I connect people in that way. Like, here are these people, or in, oh, you like this, like you love to knit, and my other friend loves to
Yeah,
knit. Let's do this. Or you're both interested in this, or you might have some
yeah,
connection with your kids, or just anything. I know a lot of people, and I know it's not normal. I didn't really realize that until people started coming to me and saying, "You are the only person I know who's deconstructing their faith." And I thought,
yeah,
oh, well, I know like hundreds of
yeah,
people. So being able to connect someone who doesn't have a friend or doesn't
yeah,
have someone that understands them, connect them with someone who does. I have lots of people to give away. Like, I
yeah,
can afford to do that because I don't need to hoard any of these
yeah.
friendships.
I
I
guess
am just,
I would just venture to say you're connecting people in ways where they can be weird, they can be their whole selves.
oh, yeah, yeah.
That's probably somewhat new. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm very big on celebrating people's weirdness, whatever that is. Or
yeah,
maybe weirdness sometimes, yes, but also things that they have had to tame down or that other people didn't appreciate or they had to assimilate in a certain way.
yeah,
I think that's the whole thing behind Pride Month. Is this is what it's not a pride in a bad way. It's, you have always been told that you should not only be not be proud of your sexuality, but you should be ashamed of it. And so let's take something that people told you was a shameful part of you, and let's be proud of that. And
yep,
then let's bring other people that are going to celebrate you and be proud of that too.
yep.
So yeah, there's a lot of Christian stuff in it, like loving your neighbor as yourself, but it's without all that baggage that evangelical Christians have added to what Jesus said.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. If you've got this far, check it out. There it is. It's nice and blue, multicolored.
My favorite color.
It's the third in a trilogy of amazing poems that will just bring it all out for you. You'll see new vistas, new realities. It brings out the emotions. I think that's what's so cool about poetry. It's enjoyable reading. And
Understand, it won't go over your head. I'm
right.
not that smart. It's not that kind of poetry.
Congratulations, Marla, on getting 3 of these books done. And who knows what's next?
Yeah, thank you so much, David.